Oh my gosh, welcome back, LyfeHouse fam. It is me, Miss Keira, your career coach, and I'm really glad to be back with you today, because it's been a while since we've had a chat. I'm really excited to be back because today we have a topic that I think a lot of you, at least many of you, at least I think many of you, will relate to. And I'm specifically talking to the individual who has done everything right. Is that you? Are you the student that got the grades, followed the rules, met all the expectations of friends, families, teachers, all the people, right? And I think for some of you, a subset, it's quite possible that you still can be unsure of what your purpose or what your passion is about. Now, this uncertainty can prevent you from knowing what your next step in life could be. And that is what we talk about here on Now What? The coulda, woulda, shouldas, and sorting all of those next steps out. And I feel like this is a stage of life that isn't talked about enough. And so that's what we're going to do today. Are you up for it? Hopefully you are. Let me tell you, smart people, successful people, they don't always have all the answers. And you might be in the space where you feel like you need to have all the answers. And that's not necessarily a realistic expectation. So if this is the case for you, then how is it that all these people seem to have all the answers right? I want to make the case that these people have exercised the muscles of moving forward through uncertainty anyway. You're in a unique time in your life. Think about it. For most of your life, your path was already set. You were told which classes to take, where to be, and when. You were told what to study, what to turn in, and how it should look. You were given all of those like checklist items. And on top of all of that, the measures of success was literally a letter that fell in the beginning of the alphabet, right? And somehow those letters averaged to a number between 0 and 5, your grade point average. And that was supposed to be your ticket into the next phase of your life. So in essence, your role was to follow the structure that existed around you, and you did all of that, right? You learned how to meet all of those expectations. You learned how to perform well inside a given system that you have been in since kindergarten. You learned how to move from one requirement to the next requirement. And now, right, that system is starting to fade away. Like, that's scary. That's scary. The structure you relied on for all of these years is loosening. The checklists are disappearing. And instead of instructions, you are handed a lovely plate of responsibility. Does that sound like it's you? Because I believe if you feel disoriented by that, I think that's valid. I think that is absolutely valid. It makes sense that your next steps would feel unclear, even though you've never really felt unclear before. You may feel frustrated that after doing everything right, you still feel like you lack confidence about what comes next. Wondering kind of why this time in your life feels harder than you think it should for someone who has done all the things. Quite frankly, you are being told you're an adult while you're still kind of learning how to be one. The expectations can feel like they have changed really quickly for you, and the consequences of the decisions that you and the choices that you make can feel really heavy. I think you can also couple that with the margin of error. Feels like it's smaller, even if you haven't even made mistakes yet. So before, if something didn't go well, it was usually temporarily. Like a grade could be fixed, an assignment could be redone, right? All of those things could be undone, redone, added on, extra credit, all of those things. There was some kind of step that you could take to help you recover. But now the choices and decisions and grades, if you will, feel more permanent. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed or unsettled, it does not mean that you are unprepared for life. It means the environment around you is changing or has changed. So, what can you do? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to give you a practical step. And we're probably going to talk about this for a little while in the next few episodes as well. There's an important reframe that I think can help you in this scenario. And it has nothing to do with choosing a career. I promise you it doesn't. Have you ever heard that saying that the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time? I never understood why anyone was eating the elephant, but I guess the visual, although a little gruesome, is effective here and works. So we're gonna roll with it, right? How do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. So we're gonna take that perspective here because instead of focusing on what you are supposed to do for the rest of your life, especially when it comes to what to do after high school, I think for you who are in this scenario feeling uncertain, that it's more helpful to break the goal down and focus on who you are becoming in this next phase. So, not what do you want to do for a career, but who are you becoming? Think about the next year or two. Who do you want to become? And this matters especially when you're trying to figure out what comes next after high school, because choosing your next step after high school, that is not about picking the right destination, okay? It's not about the destination here. It's about picking the right environment. You now have the privilege of deciding where you're going to spend most of your time in this next phase. And whatever environment you choose is going to shape who you are and who you are becoming. So instead of asking, who am I? Like you're supposed to define your whole entire identity, like right now, right in this moment, and have all the answers. I want you to shift the question to, who am I becoming? Okay. Who am I becoming? You're not locking in the final version of yourself here. Okay. That's not what we're doing. Essentially, that question is helping you to test a direction. Okay. So ask yourself, in the next 1 to 2 years, what kind of person do I want to be more like? Maybe your answer to this question is that you want to become more reliable. Maybe you want to become more creative. Maybe you want to become more confident speaking up. Maybe you want to become more independent, right? Those are all wishes and dreams and goals that you could have for yourself that you want to test out, right? Maybe for some of you, you want to become someone who helps others more. Once you can name that or name a few of those things, then the next step becomes a little bit clearer because you're going to now look for an environment that helps someone like you in that situation with those desires grow. Let me give you an example. If you want to become, in one of the examples I said, more reliable, you probably need an environment with real expectations, right? People who are counting on you, people who or an environment where you can set responsibilities that might point you toward a job, a trade program, maybe the military, or a structured college experience, right? If you want to become more creative, right? If creativity is your kind of growth goal, you probably need an environment with room to experiment and be creative, right? So that might be an environment like that has a lot of project-based learning opportunities. space to try and fail and try again, right? Without like huge penalties. That might point you maybe towards college programs that have that type of experience, or creative fields, or places where you could do hands-on projects paired with your work. For those of you who want to become more independent, you might need an environment where you are on your own or managing your own time if you can't be on your own. Maybe you might want to be able to manage your money and decisions. So that might look like working after high school. That might look like going to a community college, right? Getting involved in a service program or a mix of school and work, right? Those are viable options for someone who wants to pursue that goal. So notice what is happening here, right? You're not choosing a forever path. You're matching who you're becoming with where you will grow next. Does that help? If not, I do have another practical tip, another reframe that might help you in this scenario. Still has nothing to do with choosing a job title, but instead it is you asking a different question. So instead of what career do I want, you want to say, what do I want to learn more about in this moment right now? Maybe you want to learn how to work in teams better. Maybe you want to learn how money actually functions. Maybe you're curious about learning how to communicate professionally, right? Maybe you want to learn how to build or fix a certain thing, right? Because it's been giving you problems, or you see other people struggling with it and you're, the only one curious about it. So that's what you want to do. Maybe you want to learn how to help people solve problems. Pick 2 or 3 things that you are genuinely curious about. And these are things that don't necessarily, they don't have to sound impressive or what you think you're supposed to say because of others' expectations. This is truly just what you want to learn and what you're curious about. And then you're going to look for a class, right? Or a program or a job or any kind of experience that lets you practice learning those things. So instead of thinking a major, like look on the website and look on the classes that are offered and say, does this strike my interest? Because no matter which path you choose next, whether that's college, trade school, work, military, or something else, you are still learning. It is all about lifelong learning. And you're just choosing what that learning looks like. Okay? And that shift can be uncomfortable and scary, but it can also be exciting. Part of what creates a lot of anxiety for people who are in this phase is not the fact that they're uncertain or that you're uncertain. It might actually be the amount of uncertainty you're holding on to all at once, because your brain's trying to sort through the identity piece. It's trying to sort through independence, finances, purpose, and future, all and family expectations, all at the same time, right? That's a lot for any person to carry. And so one way to ease that pressure is to narrow the focus, right? Not to the big picture, but just like what's next, right? So you're not deciding your entire life right now. You're deciding what you want to invest your energy into learning in the near term. I think when you shorten the time horizon like that, the uncertainty you're feeling becomes a lot more manageable. Okay? So I have given you 2 ways to kind of shift your mindset when you are feeling uncertain, when you've done everything right and you're still not locked in on what that next step should be for you. So hopefully that is helpful to you. I have more though. So when we come back to our next episode, we are going to talk about some practical steps in figuring it out beyond those 2 reframes that I shared with you today. So until next time, have a great one, LyfeHouse fam. And this is your career coach, Miss Keira, signing out. Deuces.